Assisi lies almost at the geographical centre of Italy, a town of the Middle Ages situated on a hill high above the plains of Umbria. Deep under the Basilica of St. Francis lies the tomb of the saint, one of the most loved figures in the church. His followers and brethren have been calling themselves his sons and disciples for over 7.5 centuries.
Noi francescani siamo qui ad Assisi.
We Franciscans see ourselves as the guardians of the tomb of St. Francis and as living witnesses to the life of the saint. We do not see our life here as a privileged or favored way of living. We see it rather as a vocation, a mission granted to us by the Lord and not chosen by us. We are here in the name of all the followers of St. Francis from all over the world, rather than in our own name. And there is no country which does not have Franciscans or a Franciscan church.
The master painter Benozzo Gozzoli represented the life of St. Francis and the many legends attributed to him in a series of frescoes in the church of Montefalco. Today's visitor has an impression of animation when looking at them. Special emphasis is laid, of course, on the incidences of divine intervention in the life of St. Francis. We see the mystical highlight of the saint receiving the stigmata at Verna, the 5 wounds of Christ on his hands, feet, and side. The church at Montefalco no longer functions as a parish church and is now a museum displaying many images of St. Francis.
Io ricordo con commozione quando Giovanni Paolo II.
It is a touching thought that the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, chose Assisi as the place in which to spend a day of prayer. Why did he choose Assisi, a small town, ill-equipped to accommodate large crowds of people? It was with prophetic intuition that the Pope decided to come to Assisi. The spirit of St. Francis is very much alive, and it is here that believers and non-believers alike experience the spirit of the universal brother.
皆さんを案内するのはこの下の部と書きます。下の部ですね。かぶせいの walk away from it because that does it happens even here, and when that does, it's not miraculous. Believe me, they disappear. So with those downers, we'll be going through this door right here, entrada, and I would ask you to stay pretty much. We'll get started. All right. これはこの教会は法に直属しておりますという印なんです。こういう印のついた教会は
Many of the legends about St. Francis have to do with nature, and in his Song of the Sun, nature herself is glorified. This canticle is regarded as the first example of poetry in the Italian language. It is well known that animals were immediately attracted to the saint, and that there is a legend that he spoke to a wolf in Gubbio and immediately tamed it. Others say he requested a brother to feed it regularly, so that the wolf would no longer have the desire to kill other animals. The Assisi of today is a town dedicated to St. Francis. Down through the centuries, the various buildings have been Christianized. Even a temple from the 1st century before Christ, which was formerly dedicated to Minerva, goddess of wisdom. That church is now known as Santa Maria Sopra Minerva.
Un augurio
A wish frequently expressed by St. Francis to the many people he met in the course of his journeys was, "May the Lord give you peace." We monks of Assisi are obliged to repeat this blessing constantly, and not merely to give lip service to it, but to use it as the expression of a deep desire to share peace. What we all know is that when this blessing is repeated beside the tomb of St. Francis, it takes on a special meaning. Tourists as well as pilgrims come to Assisi, and when they visit the tomb of St. Francis, they become pilgrims rejoicing in the faith. How can the poverty of St. Francis be reconciled with such fine monuments? There are 3 basilicas, comprising an upper church, a lower church, and the chapel where the tomb of St. Francis is situated, in all a very large monastery. These buildings represent the glory of God, with whom the saint now resides. The poverty of St. Francis remains central to Franciscan thinking, but in contemplating this building, we can understand the admiration and esteem felt by a whole nation for the saint. Through these basilicas, many have come to honor and love St. Francis. This is the oldest representation of St. Francis, a portrait of Francis in his poverty, with the stigmata on his hands and the Bible held to his heart. Friars minor live according to the rule of the Gospel. If you follow the beam of my torch, you will discover another wonderful portrait, this time by Simone Martini. There are other portraits here, St. Louis, St. Elizabeth, and St. Clare. And this one is by Lorenzetti. A work by Cimabue hangs here, and others by Giotto, Lorenzetti, and Martini. This is a true sanctum of Italian art.
E il mio spirito esulta in Dio mio Salvatore, perché ha guardato l'umiltà della sua serva, d'ora in poi tutte le generazioni mi chiameranno beata. Grandi cose ha fatto in me l'Onnipotente, e santo è il suo nome. Di generazione in generazione la sua misericordia si stende su quelli che lo temono. Ha spiegato la potenza del suo braccio, ha disperso i superbi nei pensieri del loro cuore. Ha rovesciato i potenti dai troni, ha innalzato gli umili, ha ricolmato di beni gli affamati, ha rimandato i ricchi a mani vuote. Ha soccorso Israele suo servo, ricordandosi della sua misericordia, come aveva promesso ai nostri padri, ad Abramo e alla sua discendenza per sempre. Gloria al Padre e al Figlio e allo Spirito Santo, come era nel principio e ora e sempre, nei secoli dei secoli. Amen. Colui che è potente e santo è il suo nome.
This huge library is rich in documents. It contains many great treasures of Franciscan art and history. There are well over 1,000 codices and manuscripts here.
La nostra comunità di Assisi è chiamata ad un servizio nella Chiesa di oggi.
Our community in Assisi has a mission in today's church. It is our mission to instruct the priests of the future, the preachers and teachers of religion for the generations to come.
Potranno essere anche gli insegnanti di religione per le nuove generazioni. Ospitiamo nel Sacro Convento due istituti.
There are two cultural institutes leading the holy monastic life here, the Theological Institute and the Institute for Religious Knowledge. About 500 young people come here and stay with us to get to know God better and to serve Him in the way St. Francis did.
Per servire l'uomo sullo stile di Francesco.
This influx of youth is at one with the aims of the monastery. It is a testimony to the living presence of St. Francis among today's youth.
Sono stato ordinato sacerdote un mese fa.
I was ordained a priest a month ago. When I look back on my life up to this point, I can't say that I see a straight line leading to ordination, although I did tell my mother I wanted to be a priest, but that was when I was only 6. When I reached 15, my life was completely disrupted. I was taken over by Marxism, I fell into terrorist ways, I took drugs, and I ran away abroad. However, I came slowly to the search for the light, for God Himself. I searched by many ways, through the game of tarot, astrology, magic, Jungian psychoanalysis. As I came through these stages, I rediscovered the light and friendship of God. And it was then that I found St. Francis.
E quindi l'incontro con Francesco di Assisi. Nel 78 lavoravo nei campi di tabacco vicino.
I worked in the tobacco fields near Assisi in 1978, and it was in this way that I eventually came to Assisi.
L'impatto con San Francesco è stato la conoscenza di un cristiano.
When I encountered the spirit of St. Francis here, I felt I was meeting cheerful Christians, a happy religion, and not a religion of sadness.
Del dovere.
I didn't regard Franciscan thinking as the thinking of a religion of duty. And so I asked if I might join, if I could become a member of this community of happy Christians, whose message is joy. This is a community which seeks to change the world by interior change. All that was 8 years ago, and I was ordained a priest just 1 month ago.
Che vuol dire essere frati?
What does it mean to be a monk, to be a Franciscan, and a member of the clergy in the Church of today?
È una vocazione che discende dal Signore.
It is a calling from the Lord, a vocation which finds its response in our tiny hearts, through God, who is the supreme good.
Sia l'unico sommo bene. Quindi una consacrazione al Signore.
Dedication to the Lord is found here, a community life, living as one body. Here in Assisi, we are a community of 85 clergy from 14 countries, all united by God's love and by our Father, St. Francis, and driven by a great desire to serve.
Francesco, e ci unisce questo desiderio di essere al servizio di tutti.
Francis was a remarkable man, and his followers were also out of the ordinary. An outstanding follower was Joseph of Cupertino, who had the gift of levitation. It is said that he could actually fly. As this gift caused too much of a sensation, Joseph obeyed those in authority and tried to refrain from levitation. The Holy Office instructed his superiors to incarcerate him in a small and narrow cell in case he was a cause for scandal. He was eventually canonized in spite of intervention by the Holy Inquisition. The grandeur of today's Assisi has its own significance. One can also seek the spirit of St. Francis at a place called Eremo on a plateau some distance from Assisi. A chapel dedicated to a group of hermits existed here from the 10th century, and it was here that Francis often came to pray. In the 15th century, Bernard of Siena built a monastery over the small chapel which was already here. The Eremo was built by the hermits to meet their modest needs. There are caves nearby to which they used to retire, calling them their little prisons. Thou art praised, O Lord, through sister, our Mother Earth. So sang St. Francis in his Song of the Sun. St. Francis, friend of nature, was trusted by the birds, and legend has it that he even preached to them. The tree in which the birds nested is still in existence, but on account of its great age, it recently began to fail. Modern methods were applied, and with the intervention of tree surgeons, the tree lives once again and even bears fruit.
Un giorno San Francesco fu fermato da un suo.
One day, St. Francis was asked by one of his monks, "Why does everyone come to you?" It is a question that we monks of today would also like to ask of St. Francis.
È una domanda che anche noi frati di oggi sentiamo di ripetere.
We see people flocking to hear the message of il poverello, the poor one. People coming here every day from all over the world.
Per incontrare il poverello, per ascoltare il suo messaggio. Ogni giorno noi ci troviamo con persone che vengono da ogni parte del mondo. Che cosa chiede questo popolo?
What are they looking for, these people?
Desidera incontrare Francesco.
They want to encounter Francis because he was the living image of Christ, and because, although he lived in the year 1200, some 800 years ago, Francis has a message for contemporary men and women as we approach the year 2000.
Il suo messaggio è attualissimo per gli uomini e le donne in cammino verso il 2000. Ecco allora che la presenza di Francesco
And the presence of Francis all over the world is a living presence, bringing everyone the message of the gospel.
Ad ogni persona il messaggio del Vangelo.
Dio che dichiara luce, tessi la trama al giorno, accogli il nostro canto nella quiete del vespro. Ecco il sole scompare all'estremo orizzonte, scende l'ombra e il silenzio sulle fatiche umane. Non si offuschi la mente nella notte del male, ma rispecchi serena la luce del tuo volto. E la voce proclami, o Dio trino ed unico, e canti il nostro cuore.
Ricordati, o Padre, di tutti i tuoi figli.
Think, O Father, of all your children. Every day we, the monks of St. Francis, descend to the tomb of the saint to repeat in our name and in the name of all, think, O Father, of all your children.
Vivere presso la tomba di San Francesco vuol dire anche sentire continuamente una nostalgia.
In living near the tomb of St. Francis, we have a longing for and a continual reminder of his holiness. Francis calls us to be holy, to be poor, to be brothers, and to be humble. Francis appears to us as the living image of Christ. Again and again I repeat his rule: live according to the gospel. Francis draws our attention to the quest of holiness, and we really feel this call every day. If we feel sorrow in our lives, it is a sign that we are not being holy, and St. Francis is our continual reminder of this.
The Assisi of St. Francis is also the Assisi of St. Clare, his spiritual sister, who established her own foundation here. Veneration of St. Francis in Assisi has no limit, and even his parental home has become a church. There is surely no other town where there are so many monasteries in a small area. Assisi represents the veneration of a great saint, and according to legend, the bells of the church of San Stefano tolled spontaneously on his death.